last week I showed you how to make a fabric cover for a notebook or a hardback book, and this week I'm going to show you how to use basic applique and reverse applique to put a bit of decoration on that book. So welcome if you are new, and welcome back if you've been with me for a long time. My name is Kate Field. I'm an artist, teacher and speaker, and passionate about helping you find your creative spirit. And if you've found it, helping you to develop it further. So we're going to be using scraps of fabric, stuff that you might have already lying around, so you don't need to go out and buy anything. And we're also going to do this by hand. So we're not going to use a sewing machine. We're going to use our hands and a needle and thread. So let's go. I love working with bits and pieces and leftover scraps and things like that, and that's what we're going to do in this tutorial. Now we're going to use the idea of applique, and applique very simply is one bit of fabric on top of another. And these are some that I've done in previous lessons and tutorials using felt and then embroidery. And I thought I'd pop these ones in as well, using Angelina fibres and some yarn. So it is just one piece of fabric on top of another. And we're going to be using some leftover scraps of fabric from an old shirt. My husband wears shirts for like ever, and I honestly think this shirt is about 20 years old and it is falling apart, but parts of the fabric are still really quite nice. And this bit too was an old shirt, and this bit was a tea towel, just an old linen tea towel. And what we're going to do is we're going to create the book cover in the same way as the previous tutorial. So if you haven't watched that, you might want to pop back and have a look at that. But I am going to show you the basics of what we're going to do. You're going to need an iron, just so that we've got our fabric lovely and flat, some pins and a needle and thread. Now I'm going to be covering this book. The lovely thing about this technique is that you can use any book. There's no measuring because it's going to be dependent on the size of your book, and so it could be, it could be any size book that you want, and you're going to work out the dimensions yourself, because I can't tell you what they are because I don't know the size of your book. You can open up your book, and what you want to have, I'm just going to lift that up just a little bit here. There we go. So you want to cut your fabric so that you've got about 5 centimeters at the top and the bottom, so 1.5 inches, something like that. That will work. Measure these ends about 3 inches, 3.5 inches, 9 centimeters on each end. Because what we're going to do, as I say, if you didn't watch the tutorial, I'm just going to do a quick recap of how to do it. I'm going to fold those bits over like that. I'm going to have this as 2 pieces of fabric because this fabric is quite thin and I think it looks better. I'm going to fold it in half just to get that middle bit. You can see that middle line there, and you could always kind of use some tailor's chalk or something like that, but I'm going to do a running stitch right up the middle to hold these 2 bits together. I'm just using ordinary sewing thread. I'm going to do this in grey, and I like to use double. I'm going to do 2 arm lengths. So what I say to my students all the time, we're just going to work with 2 arm lengths of thread, then a little needle, And for me, as my eyesight is not quite as good as it was before, the tricky bit is threading the needle. So it's going to do that, pull that thread through, and then just tie a knot at the end. Now, if you have a different way of doing it, you do that. And you could use thicker thread, you could use embroidery thread. Again, I really would like you to use whatever you have, actually, whatever you've got lying around. And then all I'm going to do, it's going to come down a little bit. Hope that's not too fuzzy on your eyes. My mum always used to say she doesn't like ironing stripy things because they make her eyes go funny. And I'm just going to do a running stitch. Now, the nice thing about using a stripe fabric is you can do your straight lines. Now I'm doing large running stitch here. I've just got that caught up in a pin like this. Very, very easy, because it's just like doing a kind of a tacking stitch really, but I'm going to have it as a decorative running stitch. Just doing like that, and I'm going to go all the way to the top. So I've got all the way up to the top. I'm just going to move that pin so it's not in my way. So I'm holding, keeping these two pieces of fabric together. I'm just going to turn it round. That line is in the centre, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do running stitch again up one side and that down the other. Now, I think that running stitch is really underrated. I'm just going to come here, because sometimes the most simple stitches can have a really, really powerful impact, and you can do really decorative, beautiful things. I'm just going to hold this. I like to keep my fabric flat. Again, if you want to work on a frame, however you want to work, it's up to you. But when I'm teaching this to children, my young people, I get them to keep the fabric flat on the table. It stops it flapping around, and it stops you making mistakes. Well, you know, you're going to make mistakes if you're new to this. And so I'm just doing this kind of parallel. Doesn't matter if it goes a little bit squiffy, that's fine. It doesn't matter. I'm going to do that all the way to the end, and then I'm going to come back down the other side, so I will have 3 lines. So I've done my 3 lines down there. I might do some more actually. This is going to be the spine, so it's going to go on the spine of the book as we wrap it round. But now I'm going to do the applique bit, and I want to create a pocket for a pen and a paintbrush. And so what I've done is I've got my husband's old shirt and I've created, let's just do one of these at a time. I'm going to put this down the centre of the book. So if you imagine, let's just move the book there. It's going to be flapped over that way. That bit's going to go across the middle. I'm going to have another bit of the same stripy fabric, and then another bit of the grey shirt that I know is the pen is going to fit into, and the paintbrush is going to fit into. And I'm just going to line that up. And again, this is going to be dependent on the size of your book. So the measurements that you have are going to be yours. I'm just going to show you how I create these bits. Now, if you've got a sewing machine and it's all out and you're using it all the time, then use your sewing machine. That's fine. So this bit of fabric, as you can see, I just cut it and then folded the ends. Then that bit is going to be placed there, and I will trim up those ends. And I've done the same for this bit, so just ironed those in. That's going to go on top of there, And the same with this bit. I just folded the bits over, and that's going to be my little pocket. Now for some pieces of applique, you can sew more than one fabric at the same time. And I will quite often do that because it saves time and that's nice and easy peasy. And I'm going to do just a few sort of decorative pieces on this just to show you, and then you can do your own thing. As I always say, this is your project, not mine. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get this in the right place. So I'm going to put my book. I'm going to place my fabric over the top of it. That's where the fold is going to be. Let's just fold that bit under there. The pins out of the way, just so that I know. So I'm just going to turn that over and you can see that I've got my stitched bits there. Those bits all match up, which is great. And we're just going to work on this bit here. And I do want to have it in the middle. You could have it to one side, that would work as well. But it's only going to be this bit, excuse me, that shows. Like that. The rest of it is going to be superfluous as we tuck it round. I'm just going to put that there. I'm just lining it up with my eyes. I'm just going to put in a couple of pins just to hold it in place like that. Now I know that that is going to be my folded edge there, so I'm just going to put in another pin there, and then I'm going to come down. I'm going to put another pin in there at the bottom. Pins, where do they go? Honestly, well, it was even worse when I was teaching in college. My goodness. It's just like, who's got the pins? Where are the pins? There we go. Just going to put that there. So I'm just holding those in place. That I know that that is the edge there. You could mark it again with some tailor chalk. So I'm just going to open that out now like that, and I know that that bit is going to be folded over like that, and that bit's going to be folded over like this. So I don't need all of this bit, but I'm not going to cut it off just yet. But that's where it's all going. So I just take that bit out, I think. Just pop that on there like that. And this one I'm just going to, this pin, just to hold it all together. There are so many ways to attach one piece of fabric to another, and I'm going to show you a couple. Now we could use running stitch again. That would hold it in place. There's not going to be a lot of tension on this, so you don't have to use a very strong stitch. But it's quite nice to use a bit of decorative stitching if you want to. So if you know various embroidery stitches, you could use some of those. That would be really nice. But yeah, you don't have to. You don't have to at all. Now I'm going to turn this round this way, because one of the stitches that I do like to do, let me just come down a little bit like this, is blanket stitch. It makes a really nice edging, and it's very straightforward to do, but you do have to learn the pattern and get going with it. I'm just going to put this, so I'm just bringing my needle up to that end there. You can see that. I will zoom in. I'm going to pull it over to the left, and then I'm going to go in and come back up again. Now again, there are lots of different ways of doing blanket stitch, and if you have a different way, some people do it the other way round. If you want to do it the other way round, you go ahead and do it. Now I am just going to slip a bit of cardboard underneath this because I've got some sort of fabric covering on my work surface here, just so that I don't have to keep lifting up my fabric, because the needle won't go into the cardboard, or it will be obvious if it does. Just going to pull that one through there. Now with blanket stitch you can vary the height and the length, and you can make it very, very decorative. So if I show you this one, you can see this is blanket stitch going all the way around, so is this one. But then I've also done a blanket stitch this way as well. So there's lots of things that you could do with, you know, various embroidery stitches, but you know, you don't have to do that. You could do running stitch, that would work just as well. So I'm just coming to the end of my thread. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to just turn that around like that, pull that over that way, take it through to the back. Let's turn that over, and then just finish it off either with a couple of little stitches or a little knot. And I will carry on with blanket stitch all the way down. But the other thing that I really like to do is to use things like buttons and beads. I get very excited about buttons and beads, and I think I mentioned in a tutorial a little while ago that my my great aunt has given me her box of buttons, which I haven't collected yet, so I need to do that. But look at these are gorgeous. So I'm going to choose a few buttons, choose a few beads, and again the button will secure the fabric onto. Oh, that's a nice one, isn't it? So it was me getting distracted by my buttons. There's a little heart one there as well. I'm going to choose a few of these and I'm going to put those on there, remembering too that I've still got my little pocket that needs to be fitted onto this, but I could put the beads on the pocket. That could be an idea as well. So I'm going to carry on and do my blanket stitch down this side and down this side. I'm going to do running stitch to hold the pink bit in the middle, and then I'm going to show you what I do with the pocket. So I've done a few little bits on the front here, and then I've just popped the book in just so that I can remind myself where I need to put the pocket. And what I did was just I thought a few of those lovely buttons, a few little beads that I found, and then that is going to go on there. A few loose ends. The back doesn't look very pretty, but that's okay for the moment, isn't it? Obviously when you do it, the back of your work will be beautiful. I know it will. But I'm doing this one quite quickly. Let me just line that up there so I know that that's going to be in the right place, and I'm going to stitch just around those three edges, leaving that top bit there so that I can pop in my paintbrush, and my pen is going to pop in there as well, or maybe a pencil or whatever goes in there. That would be fun. So I'm just lining that up. My pins, just going to pop the pin just in the middle, just so that I know that it's not going to move. It's in the right place. And while I'm just doing this bit, I'll just show you another bit that I did on these ends. I just folded them in because they're going to be seen. So I've just tidied those ones. I'm not going to bother with those ones at the moment. Right, let's just turn this round like that. I know that that's where it's got to be, and I'm just going to do running stitch all the way around like I did before, and then we're going to go on to the construction of the book. So now we're going to construct the book cover. I'm just going to line up this. I just need to make sure that that book end is going to fit into there. It's a little bit tight, so I'm just going to move that down a little bit. Just pop that there. Just making sure that that is going to slip into that little pocket there, and then lining that up over this side, putting that bit over, and I'm going to mark across here and across there. So I'm just going to take that out. You can see that it is, if I go here, I'm just going to grab my ruler and just going to line up. And again, this is where it's quite good to have the stripes. Let's just pop that across there. I'm going to mark that. These marks aren't going to show because they're going to be tucked underneath. That bit there and that bit there. And I'm going to stitch across those little bits there. And I'm going to turn it round and do the same on this side. Let's just take that one out. Let's just get my book again, just to make sure that that is going to fit. Just want it a little bit bigger, but you don't want it to be baggy. You want it to kind of fit well. Let's just use the edge of the book to do that. And then we can line up this bit across there and do that bit there. And again, I'm just going to use, I might use running stitch or I might use back stitch. That's, but you only have to do this bit. That is the thing. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to pin this just to make sure that it is all going to work, and that the book leaf is going to fit into that space. You want it to fit snug. Yeah, that's going to be great. That's going to work perfectly. So I'm going to stitch across that one, that one, that one, and that one. Then I'm going to flip it inside out and wrap up the book. So we're coming to the end now. I've done those two bits there and those two bits there. And we're just going to take off some of the bulk because these bits are going to be folded over. So I'm just going to take these little corner pieces off. Oh, let's turn that around like that. Just like that. Just so that it's not too bulky. Let's just do. And then what we're going to do is to turn these around the other way. And if there's a bit more bulk, you can always reduce it again. Just going to pull that through, get those corners, really push your fingers into there. Sometimes I'll use a knitting needle or a stick. Just putting it through like that. And then what happens is these bits will automatically just come down like that. And I'm just going to iron those, and then we're going to wrap up the book. So I've ironed that flat. You could put some fabric glue under there if you want to. Sometimes I will use fabric glue. Let's get my front bit round the right way. And then we're just going to pop the book. Oh, let's just wiggle the ends in. This is where it gets a little bit snug, but that's what we want. Let's just push those bits in like that. Just slip that end in as well. See, it's quite snug. Fold that over, and there's our book cover, and we can turn it over and you can see that we've got that. And of course you can't see these bits because they're folded under like that. Now there's so many things that we can do with this sort of cover. You could do a strap that goes all the way round. You can make different sorts of pockets. You could have pockets in here. You could make this flap bigger, or the one at the back. You could make that bigger as well. But I really like them. I think they're very quirky and very individual, and they just feel really nice. And the thing is, I can easily take this cover off the book to wash it, for example, or perhaps to just do a little bit more embroidery on it. I really hope you enjoyed that tutorial, that you've got lots of ideas of things that you want to do. Let me know in the comments. Share your thoughts and ideas. And if you haven't joined the Facebook group yet and you'd like to, the link is below. And so is the link to join the membership Open Studio. You might like to check that out as well. Take care. I'll see you next time. But if you want to watch some more, you could look at this one or this one. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.